Jill Dando was a beloved television star, adored by millions. But one morning in April 1999, Jill was shot in the head, right on the doorstep of her home. No sign of robbery, no witnesses, and no CCTV caught the killer walking away. It was a single, cold-blooded execution, and to this day, justice has never found the person who pulled the trigger. The Jill Dando murder. Monday morning, the 26th of April, 1999, Fulham, West London. At 11:30 a.m., Jill Dando stepped out of her car on Gowan Avenue, a quiet, tree-lined street where she used to live for years. She had just left the home of her fiancé, Dr. Alan Farthing, a well-known consultant gynecologist. The sun was soft. Jill wore a pale blue coat, a dark skirt, and simple black shoes. It was an ordinary morning, a peaceful street, and no one noticed. Death was waiting at her doorstep. At 11:32 a.m., a neighbor heard a sound, something like a gate slamming, or maybe metal clanging. No one thought it was a gunshot. 14 minutes later, another neighbor opened her door and found Jill lying face up on her porch, her head tilted gently to the side, her handbag still hanging from her shoulder. Paramedics arrived within minutes. But Jill Dando, Britain's sweetheart, the nation's trusted television host, was already gone. A single bullet to the left temple, point blank, no hesitation, no scream, no sign of struggle, no robbery, her jewelry untouched, her handbag unopened. The killer came to do one thing, and left as if they were never there. There were no cameras, no witnesses. No one saw a face. No one heard a second sound. It was, in every sense of the word, a perfect assassination. That afternoon, BBC broke the news, and millions who grew up watching Jill Dando on Crimewatch found themselves grieving a woman who had become the kind voice of justice for a generation. Now, she was the victim of a crime straight out of her own show. Police scoured every CCTV camera on streets surrounding Gowan Avenue. Nothing showed the moment Jill was killed, but one clip stood out. Roughly 1 minute after the estimated time of death, a man was caught on a distant lens. Brown hair, dark jacket, walking calmly away from the direction of Jill's house. He wasn't running. He didn't look back. He slipped into a side alley and vanished. The footage was blurry, too blurry to ID. By the end of the day, Jill Dando's murder was front-page news across the UK. The BBC received thousands of phone calls. Crowds gathered at the crime scene, turning the quiet street into a media circus. A nationwide investigation was launched. Hundreds of officers, criminal profilers, forensic experts. More than 1,000 people interviewed. Some called it the largest investigation since the death of Princess Diana. But there was a problem. No one had a reason to kill Jill. In 2000, nearly a year later, police zeroed in on one suspect, Barry George. He lived just minutes away from Jill's house. He had a history of stalking women and impersonating police. He'd been caught with photos of guns and knives, and he had been in the neighborhood on the very day Jill was murdered. At his home, police found a black coat, an old bullet not matching the one used on Jill, a cutout magazine photo of Jill. Barry George had no solid alibi, and London needed someone to blame. In May 2000, he was arrested. By July 2001, Barry George was convicted of murdering Jill Dando. Life in prison. The public breathed easier. The media called it a triumph of justice. But some voice quiet but insistent began to speak. Independent investigators, forensic experts, people who asked, where was the DNA? Where were the fingerprints? Where was the motive? There were none. Barry George had a below-average IQ. He suffered from epilepsy, and by most expert accounts, he wasn't capable of pulling off a clean, silent execution in broad daylight and disappearing like a trained assassin. So if Barry George didn't do it, then who did? At the 2001 trial, prosecutors had one key piece of evidence: a microscopic particle of firearm residue found in the pocket of Barry George's coat. They claimed it proved he had handled or been near a gun. Add to that his mental health record, odd behavior, history of stalking celebrities, and the jury had just enough to convict. Barry George was sentenced to life in prison. The nation believed the case was closed. But it wasn't closure. It was a lid, hastily screwed on a pressure cooker. Some forensic experts raised alarms. That gun residue could have come from anywhere. A contaminated lab, a shared police van, even from forensic handling. No DNA, no fingerprints, no weapon, no eyewitness, and no convincing motive. Investigative journalist Don Hale dug deeper. He interviewed dozens of witnesses. He uncovered inconsistencies in statements and major flaws in how evidence was handled. In 2006, after more than 5 years behind bars, Barry George appealed. A panel of independent forensic experts reviewed the case. Their conclusion was devastating to the prosecution. The gunshot particle is unreliable. It could easily be cross-contamination. It proves nothing. In 2007, Britain's High Court overturned the conviction. Barry George was acquitted of Jill Dando's murder. After 8 years in prison, he walked free. He was cleared but not compensated. The government stated, "There is no proof he was wrongly convicted, only that there wasn't enough evidence to keep him." And so, the Jill Dando case returned to square one. No suspect, no arrest, no justice. And for Barry George, a man once called a killer by every headline, freedom came with silence, shame, and no apology. More than 20 years later, one question still haunts the UK. Who killed Jill Dando? A lone stalker with a secret vendetta? A jealous rival from the world of television? Or a hit ordered from somewhere far, far beyond British shores? Police don't know. The public isn't sure. And the story even now remains unfinished. Theory 1. A random killing. Some investigators believe Jill Dando was simply a tragic victim of random violence, An anonymous man, mentally unstable, obsessed with fame, stalking Jill for weeks, waiting for the moment she let her guard down. But no stalking was ever recorded. No threatening letters. No history of harassment. And the kill was too clean for a madman. One single shot. No hesitation. No chaos. Not a frenzy. A decision. Theory 2. A message from the shadows of intelligence. The boldest theory yet. Jill Dando was executed, not murdered, by a foreign intelligence agency. Why? In 1999, Jill had begun investigating organized crime in Europe. She reportedly had sensitive information, particularly regarding human trafficking networks in the Balkans. And the method? A single silent bullet. No witnesses. No mess. Cold. Precise. Disappeared without trace. Some said it had all the hallmarks of a KGB-style warning. But MI5? They said nothing. Not a confirmation. Not a denial. And in the world of espionage, silence is never meaningless. Theory 3. A ghost within the media. Jill wasn't just a journalist. She was the face of the BBC. Respected, admired, unshakable. But inside those same studios, there were whispers, professional jealousy, power struggles, hidden scandals. Some say she was about to expose one of them. One anonymous source said she was warned a few weeks before her death, told to stop. No records, no proof, just a shadow of a warning and a shot that silenced her. Theory 4. The underworld didn't forget. On Crimewatch, Jill helped spotlight dozens of unsolved cases. Gang violence, drug syndicates, abuse of power. She made the hidden visible. And someone, perhaps someone once seen in a mugshot or grainy CCTV frame, decided to send a message. A silent gun, a broad daylight killing. At her own doorstep. The message? Stay off our turf. Or maybe, this is what justice really looks like. Each theory is a locked door, and none of them have opened. Not one confession, not one match, not one single piece of evidence that answers the question, who killed Jill Dando? And maybe that was always the point. 25 years have passed. No one has been convicted. No one has come forward. And one question still hangs in the air. Who killed the woman a nation loved? Jill Dando died on the 26th of April, 1999. She was a symbol of trust, safety, compassion, and truth. And then she became the victim of a perfect crime. No fingerprints, no witnesses, no ending. Her murder became a dark myth in British criminal history, spoken of in the same breath as Jack the Ripper and Madeleine McCann. But her legacy didn't end there. After her death, the Jill Dando Institute of Crime Science was founded at University College London. Multiple independent documentaries began to examine wrongful convictions. Dozens of cases were reopened, re-evaluating the weight of thin evidence. She was gone, but her work and the haunting questions surrounding her case changed the way Britain looks at justice. Scotland Yard still classifies her murder as an open case. But since 2015, not a single new piece of evidence has come forward. The case file? 15,000 pages deep. Thousands of people interviewed. And yet no name has ever been written in the box labeled suspect. When the justice system has no answer, all we have left are questions. Did she know something she shouldn't have? Was her death a warning? Or was it just one bullet from a nameless man who found the perfect moment? No one knows. No one can say. House number 29, Gowan Avenue, it's been sold. The new owners don't like to talk about the past, but the neighbors still remember. Sometimes I wonder if I had opened my door just 2 minutes earlier, if I had looked outside, if I had realized that sound was a gunshot. And so, Jill Dando, the storyteller for millions, left behind a story no one has been able to finish.